So today's interview is with my good friend John McGrath. John and I met over a year ago, and I must admit my life has been changed since meeting him. Every time I speak to him, every time I have some kind of interaction with John, I feel totally enriched. I learn something new. I feel encouraged. He's the kind of person that you'd need besides for the fact that he works in the sporting industry, he also works directly with companies. He's the kind of person that you definitely need after the coronavirus is gone, when people are coming back to work, he's the kind of guy that you actually need to come into your company, boost the morale of people, put in programs in place where your staff can actually follow a set routine of programs between physical and mental programs, and get themselves back into the working space and get them positive and striving forward. John works all over the world, and he's a phenomenal person. So enjoy the interview with John. John, can you please tell us a bit about yourself and what you do, and a bit about your life? Just to introduce yourself to my listeners.
Okay, Shawn, first, thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to do anything with you, and I'm really grateful to be on your show. The second part is I'm actually Irish by birth, but I'm South African by choice. And even in these very tough, hard times, I mean that, I'm still here because I want to be here, and because I believe there's so much to be done here. And that's part of the reason, I think why I'm here. So I spent most of my life in Ireland, but the last 12 years here in South Africa, just outside Cape Town in Paarl. My life has been, I suppose, full of sporting memories and achievements to some regard. I ended up rowing for Ireland. I fought for Ireland as well in kickboxing. And I also traveled another road with the martial arts as well, where I ended up getting 5 different black belts in 5 different styles of martial arts, training with Bruce Lee's coach. And from there, I went on to, there's a genre of martial arts where one does power, one breaks bricks, etc. I was immensely attracted to that, and I found myself doing things like breaking chains and bending horseshoes, feats of strength. So I was always fascinated by the body-mind connection. Always fascinated, even when I was young, how you could mentally, literally become Superman, Superwoman, how you could just change your state, change your mind, and I became totally fascinated with that, and I still am to this day. And I use these feats to not just tell people, or how you can change, how you can reach your goals, how you can do that. I physically demonstrate it as well, which is important because people see that, and in that, when they see it, seeing is believing, as they say, you've got an opportunity to be able to say to them, you know what, this is just my thing. And I'm nothing extraordinary, except that I'm somebody who never stopped. And that's all that I am, somebody who persevered and who kept going and who honed their craft and practiced their craft almost daily for a long number of years. And if you do that, it doesn't matter, we do know that success, Shawn, isn't fixed, right? We do know that any talent isn't fixed. Before we thought it was, and we know now that with a growth mindset, with a mindset that's prepared to accept the challenge and prepared to grow a little bit every day, that mindset is going to be a champion someday. Yes, a good somebody who's got talent and works that way. What's that they say? Talent will always beat hard work, except I've lost it. Except when talent works hard. Yes. So you can outwork people regardless of where you come from, regardless of how humble the circumstances are. You've got a shot, particularly if you follow your thing. And I love people to guide people towards following their thing. We live in a world where people say, oh, you can do anything. No, you can't. I'm never going to be a footballer. I'm never going to be a gymnast. My body levers are going to suit that. But I could do something else. I could row. I could, use it for strength, etc. So we're all perfectly made for something, and we all have a special gift. And I love getting people to bring that gift out in people is just a very, very special thing. So that's where I've come from in Ireland, and that's what I do here in in Paarl. I have a gym here in Val de Vie. And so, yeah, it's a privilege to be here.
So it's very hard to classify you as to one kind of position or job or speaker, or because you encompass a lot of stuff. But one of the very important things is the amount that you work in a person's mind and the mental strength. And I mean, prior to the lockdown, when everything was going well, you know, you got the people that really want to change their lives. Then you got those people thinking that, oh, well, you know, life will just carry on, doesn't really matter. That their focus sometimes wasn't as much, or they didn't find as much, let's say, for some people, the importance of what you're doing. So now with the lockdown and post-lockdown, you're going to be these people that are going to change their mind. So how was it prior? So what did you find about your industry and what you were doing prior to the lockdown?
That's a great question. Things have fundamentally changed. You know, people say there's going to be the new reality. It's going to be more like the new unreality. Things have changed an awful lot, and not all of it is bad. Okay, that's the first thing. This lockdown has given us all time to pause and reflect. Pause and reflect, because if you don't make some repairs, you know, pause, reflect, repair. If you don't make some repairs to stuff that you needed to, personal stuff, whatever that may be, it's going to be repeated again and again and again. We repeat cycles, right? So this has given us time for this. And this has taken a lot of us off the, you know, like the hamster wheel. And we were busy, going, doing, and suddenly it's all stopped. And it's time to reflect on what it's all about and where are we busy going and why are we doing that? And to reassess, I mean, we had conversation beforehand, to reassess what's really important in your life. What are you here to do? Who's going to help you achieve that? Who you're going to help to achieve their goals as well? And this is an important thing. And just enjoying the journey. Because a lot of us, be it in school sports, being whatever you see, look, I see kids here in Paarl, some of them training like 13 sessions a week for rugby. Like a question, are you really enjoying that? Is that something you're going to look back in 10 years, 20 years time and say they were the best years of my life? I'm not so sure. For some, maybe, but for a lot, probably not. Does that endear you to go on further in the game? Probably not. And so a lot of it was excessive. A lot of it was a little bit crazy. And I think things will be different, but they can be better. This is going to be a realignment in how we all look at the world. And right now, there's an awful lot of fear about how it's going to, you know, if you're looking at the difference before, you know, and now there's like fear palpable in the air, uncertainty about how things are going to play out. But, you know, we just have to, not everything in life should be certain. I think too much certainty is quite boring as well. And too much uncertainty is also makes us very uneasy. So now there's a bit too much uncertainty. That's going to, you know, before there was a bit too much certainty perhaps. Now a lot of things are uncertain. But we just have to control the controllables in our own life. Every day as an athlete, how is that, any of that stopping you, or as a coach, from going on and doing your job? Or as a mentors, like we do here, or setting up platforms for people, how is that going to affect you? You've got to do what you can do. You've got to control what's in front of you and work out from there. I mean, are you able to do some exercise today? Yes, you are. Just because there's a gym open or closed doesn't mean you can, you can't. Can you be in contact with mentors and people who believe in you? Yes, you can. That's possible to do. You know, can you read good material? Look at good material? Yes, you can. Yeah. Can you change your thoughts, of which are predominantly negative? Yes, you can. That's possible to change that, you know. So when you sit back and look at the differences, you know, before, this is the opportunity to be able to come back and reflect and think about all of these things that we never thought about before. We were too busy, just doing, going, chasing the next thing and the next thing. after high school, I'm going here, and then I'm going there, and then I'm going to what, and you turn around 10, 20 years later and say, what, I didn't have much fun doing that. And so this is an important thing, that we almost have fun and enjoy doing that thing. It's really, really important. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. And otherwise, ultimately, it's probably not worth it.
I have found one thing, you know, especially when you look at parents with their kids now with the homeschooling, and I know parents are finding it very, very difficult. However, right at the beginning of lockdown, they found it nearly impossible. But they've actually learned, and they've actually met for the first time their kids and got to know their children. And now their homeschooling has become a lot easier. The difficult part now is that they're balancing work with homeschooling, but
yes,
they're getting to know their kids, which is so enriching and so fantastic for them.
that is amazing, because I mean, that goes back to the point where, you know, kids were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go for practice, whatever sports it was. This is common. They spent the whole day in school, and after school there was practice as well. And then 3 times a week there's an event going on as well in the school or whatever. So people were passing each other by, you know. And whereas now they're at home and they're getting to know each other, that causes, I'm sure, some frictions in itself. But that's reality. That's family. That's the way it is. Eventually, you know, that's the forming, storming, and norming principle will be applied there. Eventually, things will settle down, and everyone will find their place, and we'll get on with it. So there's a lot to be said, and a lot to be, in some ways, to be grateful for. We always, if you have the attitude of gratitude, you know, you'll always do better than sort of cursing the circumstances which prevail.
And then you yourself, what's happened during the lockdown for your business? What new changes have you made, and and how are you helping other people out there?
Okay, so for us, I mean, the gym business is still locked down, unfortunately. Small changes are being made, but I mean, it's being quite devastating if you want to focus on one aspect of it. But you know, you've got to look and say, well, what can we do from here? So we were very busy with here in Fit Life in the Yard in Valdevi. We've put out a video every day of a workout. We post that workout on our own Instagram, and we do it as well live every day, and that's recorded. So it's not only for the people of Valdevi, but it's out there for the world. I think it's important to put stuff out there for the world as well. And so we've been doing that. We've been proactive about it. We've been communicating, you know, with our own members. And so I think that it's very important that you just keep at it and keep energy in there, because nothing comes from nothing. And you've got to have, you know, we have a hardcore of support group, and that's the group that's going to carry us through the valley, literally, onto the other side when the gym will reopen again. I think people will actually really reassess and value how important your health is. I mean, it's all okay until you lose your health. I mean, if you lose your health, wealth, art, everything else means nothing. All things in life means nothing. So I think there's going to be a new preoccupation with health. And what exactly is it? Is it fitness? Not necessarily. Fitness is one thing, you know, but it's not illness, and it's not fitness. Wellness, let's call it wellness, that space in the middle where I'm actually well. And we talk to people about spending time in nature, you know, how much that like rebalances you. I know that in Japan, doctors are advocating people, they give you, instead of a prescription, you get a prescription to go into nature, get time off to go into nature. And it appears that 2 hours in nature per week is the optimum point. And it really changes your state. If you're talking about changing your state, that's how you change your state. You spend 2 hours. Less than 2 hours doesn't really cut it. More than 2 hours, you've got diminishing margin. Utility sets in quite starkly. So 2 hours in nature, this is what you can do. And you know, we're trying to pass on that information. So if it's any movement, if it's go for a walk, if it's go for a run, if it's any sort of, we love the HIIT style training, that high intensity training, that changes your state. It literally changes your brain. And having good conversations with people is changing your brain. That's growth mindset. That's you're changing for the better. And So it's better to focus on, the things that you can change. There is things in the middle of this, there's things that are important, there's things that you can't change, and there's things that you can change, and focus on that. That's the sweet point here. Focus on what you can change and what's good for you, and have a picture of what that might look like. It's important. You don't have to, the picture mustn't necessarily be clear, but you've got to be walking, towards something, a certain kind of life, rebuilding, reassessing relationships. All of these things are important. So we've been communicating these sorts of issues with our clients going forward, and there's more to wellness than how many squats or push-ups you can do in a minute. I'll put it to you that way. It's more holistic, and even as athletes, even as coaches as well, outside of that role, we have to be very careful how we treat the human being. We must treat the human being in its totality, not just have a periodization program. This is what we're doing today. We know if that doesn't, the body, and particularly now, people have such complex lives as a result of what's going on, doesn't necessarily measure up with that, doesn't necessarily feel like doing that today. And when as a coach, you've got to be flexible. We spoke earlier about the philosophy of the coaching staff of the Bulls and dealing with these three, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, and those complex characters. And one's got to be able to, create things around the players as well, not just around your own philosophy.
And then after this lockdown, I mean, somebody like you is going to be really crucial to a lot of people. That besides for the physical side of it, the mental side of it is going to be really, really important, because people are going to really struggle to get back, and things aren't going to be great in the sense that the virus might have passed, but the economic fallback from what's happening. And how important is it for even like businesses to get people into, to encourage their staff and say, listen, guys, we'll have a wellness day or a wellness week here in the company. We're going to have people talk to you, motivate you, help you out mentally, because it's going to be really tough for people to come back to work again.
Vital. And not just the kind of motivation that gives you that like sugar-coated feeling for a day and then it disappears, but giving people tools and saying like such as hacks and say, 2 hours of nature a week, literally not much more than an hour, like doing physical training, this and this. This is what you do if you want to change your life. It's just a couple of hours a week and you can do it. And you're giving people tools. Like we said earlier, you don't have to be great to start, but in order to be great, you must start. And encouraging them just to get going, just to take the first steps. Once you can take the first steps, then you become committed to something. Then you start, building a picture of what your life might look like. And you are correct in saying that, a lot of people are predicting a tsunami, an economic tsunami coming here. But look, within the whole, there's always bubbles, and there's always people, and there's always places, groups, and individuals who will buck the trend significantly. And as a company, organization, sports team, or individual, your focus should be coming on one of those. And you can be. That's what we're saying. You can buck the trend. So stop focusing on the trend, Stop focusing on what average is. Stop listening to a lot of the news and the social media and the negativity, while one must definitely be in touch with the reality of what's going on, absolutely. But I wouldn't give it excess amount of time. So it is really, really important to grow people. That's a lifelong journey. There was a time, I know that, I think in a country like the United States, that 40% of people never read a book after high school again. With the world we live in, and the pace of change is accelerating. The pace of change was quick before, but the pace of change is not going to slow down. In fact, it's going to accelerate. And so our human being, the people we work with have to be high performance. That doesn't mean that you're an Olympic athlete. It doesn't mean that you run marathons, but that you've got a growth mindset, and that you're open to change, and that you have a can-do attitude towards life. So it's quite a mental, physical, holistic approach that we work with people particularly in giving seminars and to teams and to corporates. So that's going to be the big message. It's going to be crazy out there, but you can buck the trend.
And then how can people follow you on social media? Because you've got quite a big following on Twitter, and you do have your 1-minute clips that you put out, motivational clips. You've also got your daily motivation that you like a saying that you put out every day. That's really uplifting for somebody to read first thing in the morning.
No, thank you. Yeah, so to follow you, it's John McGrath MB on Twitter, Mind and Body. And if you, I think it's the same across Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Are there any others? Instagram, I'm also on that. I'm quite easy to find, and definitely give everybody a follow back who follows me from this as well. Very much into building up a community of people, of like-minded people. Guys, wellness is going to be a big word, and that whole health and fitness is part of that, but I think we need to expand our thinking on all of that. It's all integrated, and it's going to become more complex, and it's going to change. It's going to be more malleable in the future as well, and we've got to get to speed with it. We've got to get comfortable with it, and we just have to get going with it first. That's the most important thing.